ACMi productions are only made possible with your support. Visit patreon.com/ACMi to learn how you can help. The following program is brought to you by Arlington Community Media, where we tell your story.
This is ACMi News, recognized nationwide as the first place winner of the 2023 Hometown Media Award for News Access.
From McLennan Park to Spy Pond, from Poets Corner to the Mystic River, we have Arlington covered, giving you stories that count from people who care. Reliable, trustworthy, dependable. This is the nationwide award-winning ACMi News.
November in New England. Gray skies, temps in the 40s, fading light, not much to look forward to. There's a light shining in the darkness though, and my goodness, it looks like a film projector. Hi everyone, I'm James Milan.
And I'm Alice Estrada. Welcome to this edition of ACMi News. Here's a tonic for the November doldrums. It's time for the Arlington International Film Festival. A staple in Arlington's annual calendar, the Global Film Extravaganza returns for the 14th straight year, but with one big change. It's right at the top.
The AIFF's founders, Alberto Guzman and April Rank, have ridden off into the sunset, and we wish them the very best. They've left the festival in the capable hands of artist, designer, and filmmaker Jana Cipriano, who stopped by ACMi to talk about this year's event, which will run from November 7th through the 11th at the Capitol Theater in East Arlington.
I am just a huge lover of film. As a child, I had a pretty isolated childhood, and so media was really like the way that I viewed the world. So movies and cartoons and TV shows are like very dear to me, and books. So I'm a huge lover of narrative storytelling, and as I've grown in my own art, I've transitioned from making photographs into making films, and so I'm a filmmaker myself, and I'm part of like the wonderful filmmaking community here in Boston, and I attend a lot of film festivals, and so I know the community, I know the world, and it's just exciting to be able to grow it in a new way. So early on in the pandemic, April and Alberto reached out to me through AIFF and asked me to be one of the judges for the Student Film Festival portion of AIFF, which was a blast, and I loved getting to see like what the students in Arlington were doing. And then this past year, we have a great mutual friend between us, and she reached out when April and Alberto went to her and said, we're looking to sell the festival. She was like, great, I know exactly who to reach out to. And she reached out to me, and then we all had a beautiful little lunch together, and now we're here. I felt really welcomed by everyone. And it's just been really wonderful. And so I feel really honored to be taking on this festival and this like wonderful community event. And I really hope that I can grow it in a way that feels sustainable and like it gives back to the community. Obviously, we have our flagship event with our student filmmakers, which is happening on Saturday, I believe. We're doing some community activations. We have like a restaurant deal happening with Fatouche in Arlington. We have some influencers some coffee influencers coming in to give some wonderful coffee so we can all stay up and watch as many films as possible. And then we have just some incredible documentaries that we're showing. I'm really excited. I'm excited for all of the films, but I'm really excited for Call Me Dancer, and I'm excited for Porcelain War, which after Porcelain War, we'll be going over to 13 Forest across the street at Mark's Gallery, where we'll be doing a wonderful event there. So hopefully people will be able to join us for both of those. So we're November 7th to 10th at the Capitol Theater in Arlington, Massachusetts. Come on down and join us there. We start late on Thursday and Friday, but Saturday and Sunday, we're there pretty much all day.
Jana seems undaunted by the big job she has taken on. We wish her much luck with her first AIFF, and with many more to come.
Now we move from welcoming one Jay to bidding farewell to another. Jillian Harvey has been Arlington's first and only DEI director for almost 5 years. And DEI, of course, is diversity, equity, and inclusion. We've spoken to her regularly over those years. Jill will be leaving for a new job in early November, and we recently caught up with her to find out what she will be doing.
I will be joining the Massachusetts Municipal Association as their new Chief Equity Officer. So another inaugural role, but I'm going to have the opportunity to work with that organization to work on their DEI strategies, operational practices, other initiatives, but then also support the work in all of the other towns and cities across the state in terms of what they're doing for DEI work, or if they haven't even touched it, being able to provide different resources, guidance, and yeah, just kind of take what I've done here and amplify it. The work I've done in Arlington and talking with lots of other towns and cities, and then co-founding the Mass Municipal DEI Coalition back in what year, 2021. That group of DEI practitioners for towns and cities, I can see how helpful that's been. And now I'm just really excited to be able to kind of take that work, also work with that group in a different capacity, so that they can really help inform how some of the best practices can be implemented throughout the state. As we've talked about before, there is no state level department for DEI compared to other types of departments that have that. There's no standards or anything like that. And so this is an opportunity for the Mass Municipal Association to really help lay that framework and that foundation for all towns and cities. So I'm excited. It'll be a challenge, but it'll be really rewarding, I think.
We also wanted to know what advice Jill would have for her successor about both the challenges and the rewards of doing this particular job.
First thing would be pace yourself. This work is long and, like you said, challenging and rewarding, but the number of folks I've seen burn out over the last few years who have this role for a municipality is pretty high. And so my advice is pace yourself. Equity work is a marathon, not a sprint. So that's number one. But coupled with that is also being really intentional about the boundaries that you set when you begin. I know for me, that was kind of out the window just with 2020 and how everything went, in terms of really needing to be on and responsive to, at that time, a lot of community needs. But that also, took a toll. And so being able to determine, what's an emergency, what has a sense of urgency and what doesn't, and really sticking to those boundaries. And I'd say another thing would be, don't take things personal. This work is all about change, and change is hard. And when there's pushback or backlash because of suggested changes, it's not about the individual, it's about how folks are receiving and feeling what those changes are going to mean for them. And so not taking things personal is really key. But I'd say the positive aspects that folks should embrace about Arlington is, one, so many great coffee shops, but also so many great people. This community is just filled with residents and community members and employees who are so excited to make this town just a better place for everyone, make it more welcoming, making it more inclusive. Always assume the best of intentions of everyone, and I think it'll be easy for someone to step into this role and have the support. And I know how excited folks were when I started. I feel like that's going to continue.
Lastly, we asked Jill if anything had surprised her about her time in Arlington.
The diversity that's here in town, it exists, but building connections and relationships with folks and almost unearthing it has been really wonderful. To be able to make a connection with a community member who then opens up the door to, their community. And I'd say part of that with the department has been able to really uplift and provide community events, like cultural events, I remember when I first started, folks were like, "Oh, DEI in Arlington? I didn't think it was that diverse," but it really is. And being able to support community members in celebrating their identities has been really wonderful, and I think it's only going to continue to expand.
For those who might be saddened by the thought of Jill Harvey's tenure in Arlington coming to an end, take heart. She assures us that she has kept her local yoga membership and she'll be around.
In case you hadn't heard, there's an election coming up, and it promises to be rather consequential. Early voting in Arlington finished on November 1st, with Election Day itself set for Tuesday, November 5th. ACMi News hit the street to get a sense of how residents are feeling about the election and its aftermath.
Election is 1 week away. Obviously, everybody is talking about it. Are you worrying about the result of the election? Are you anxious about it?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think that the country is so divided right now that unless it's a clear-cut win by one party or the other, I think everybody is going to claim some sort of fraud, and I think there's potential for outrage and violence. And yeah, in fact, I travel for business and I won't travel on election day for exactly that reason.
Yeah, I'm feeling very concerned about the election, especially as a queer person. I really hope that Kamala Harris wins, but I'm also really upset about how she's been handling Gaza. So I hope she wins, but I hope she changes her stance on that.
Are you worrying about the result of the election at all, or no? Why is that?
Because Harris is the best candidate, and she will win.
What do you think is the biggest problem in America right now, from your perspective?
Trump. That's it.
That's it? Do you have any...
We can work through all the rest of it. He is an obstacle.
I think the biggest problem for me is women's rights and women's health care rights.
I think the biggest issue in America, that's always been the biggest issue in America, is white supremacy, slavery, and racism. That is our foundational lie that has given us endless grief throughout our entire existence as a country, and continues to do so, and continues to corrupt us up and down the board.
We will of course provide a rundown of all the results, including the 5 state ballot questions, on our next newscast. And don't forget to vote.
Over recent months, we've been giving you an informal tour of the murals that continue to spread around Arlington. The latest unveiling took place at the Walgreens in East Arlington on Sunday, October 20th. We talked to Anna Pancoast, a member of the art working group of Extinction Rebellion Boston, to get the inside story about this ambitious project, the first of its kind on the East Coast for the British-based Climate Action Group.
This was sort of a project that was upcoming and really motivated by the art working group. Oftentimes we make a lot of art for actions, we make protest signs and banners and t-shirts, but this was something that came out of our desire to sort of create this larger public art piece. This is Anne and Christopher's the back of their garage of True Story Theater, and they were kind enough to let us use this space. They looked at a couple different designs that we had proposed, and this one, which was designed by Kevin Shanahan, was the one that they wanted to go with. And so over the summer, we had 4 different community paint days where members of the Arlington community could come and help us paint at ground level. And with everybody's help, I think between 30 and 50 volunteers over the course of the summer, we were able to do this. All of the different parts of the graphic design, the butterfly, the dahlias, the hourglass, the extinction symbol, which is this circle with an hourglass in the middle that represents the fact that time is running out to deal with the climate crisis. All of these are actually Extinction Rebellion sort of images that are freely shared, and any Extinction Rebellion group can use them. And Kevin ended up putting them together into this specific orientation. I am in this wonderful community of people who really care about this issue, and I can use my creative interests to be involved and build community and hopefully sort of actually do something about it. So the next one in Arlington that I want to share is actually the day after Thanksgiving at Calvary Church from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. We're having a buy nothing party. So you can come and bring things you don't need anymore, have a seed swap. So I hope folks will come and meet other people in the community who care about climate.
And for those of you who may not be familiar with Extinction Rebellion, they are, quote, an international mobilization for nonviolent direct action against government's criminal inaction on climate change and the wider ecological emergency. We are curious to know more about the group and their work, so we will be looking for opportunities to do so.
The gardening season is almost over, but it's not too late to learn about a special type of community garden, and it comes with a view. Take a look.
You may have heard of a community garden, a space where residents have their own personal plot to garden. Like this one here at Magnolia Park. But have you heard of a cooperative garden? I certainly hadn't. Until I was introduced to Robbins Farm Garden here in Robbins Farm Park, just below the playground.
Robbins Farm Garden is what's known as the cooperative garden in that everything's done collectively. So the decisions of what to plant, who does what to harvest, are all done collectively.
The project was proposed in 2009 and broke ground in 2010 as a pilot program. Gradually, with the approval from Parks and Rec, it became a permanent structure. Currently, up to 20 members work to maintain it.
We start the year with a seed party, and about January we get out all the seed catalogs and figure out what we're going to plant. So it's very much an educational experience for the whole process. The first thing people walk in and say, what do I do? Well, we have a whiteboard that says these are where our chief gardening officers, the CGOs, determine ahead of time what should be done that week. They write it on the whiteboard, you walk in, look at the whiteboard, when you're done you check it off. You know, we have a lot of C-level executives. We have a chief compost officer and a chief tomato officer and a chief lettuce officer. So, you know, everybody has a title. But it's true, you know, Lisa is responsible for the tomatoes and she knows a lot about tomatoes. And Stephen has been making compost for 30 years. You have any compost questions, you ask Stephen.
I asked Alan, what brings people here?
If you answered 15 of us, you might get 15 different answers. Certainly just growing our own, you know, beautiful fresh food is a big part of it. It's also absolutely a community. We've all become friends. We all work together. We do things outside of the garden. So there's that. And a big part of Robbins Farm Garden is an educational component. Some of us came with a lot of experience in gardening. Some of us came with no experience. We didn't know where peas came from or carrots came from. So it's an educational experience where people learn how to garden.
Educational for the members and for the visitors that tend to filter down from the nearby playground.
Kids who, you pull a carrot out of the ground, they had no idea where carrot, or you open up a pea pod and there's peas inside. Who knew that peas came out of pods?
When I came to film and meet with the members, they were so welcoming. I learned about compost, tasted stevia, and met a cute potato beetle. How can you find out more?
We have an extensive website, robbinsfarmgarden.org. It has millions of photos. We're here every Saturday morning, 9 to noon or 1, and whenever the work gets done. So come down and visit.
If you want to learn more about gardening, definitely stop by and talk to the wonderful folks here at Robbins Farm Garden. For ACMi News, I'm Katie Chang.
If you're going to stop by the Robbins Farm Garden, make sure you don't delay. Gardens go dormant by the end of November and won't come back to life again till April. So make a plan to stop by the Robbins Farm Garden on a Saturday morning soon. For more information, just go to robbinsfarmgarden.org. Again, that's robbinsfarmgarden.org. While people don't go to the movies in the same numbers as they did in the old days, many still insist there's no better way to see a movie than in a theater. With this in mind, ACMi staffer Joanne Clinton reviews movies that are currently in theaters and gives you her take. Ready? Lights, camera, Joanne.
Hello, I'm Joanne Clinton with a 5-star review for ACMi TV. For this episode, I have chosen the much talked about and somewhat controversial It Ends With Us, starring Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. This film is rated R for adults with a running time of 2 hours and 11 minutes. Written by Colleen Hoover, and the screenplay was written by Christine Hall, and it was directed by Justin Baldoni. This 2-hour-plus production brings us into the life of Lily Bloom, a woman chasing her dreams of being an entrepreneur in the city of Boston. Lily meets and falls in love with neurosurgeon Ryle Kincaid. This romance leads them into a toxic marriage, one riddled with violence and emotional manipulation. Lily is mentally and emotionally brought back to her privileged but abusive childhood home in Maine. Lily's recall shifts between the pain of watching her father abuse her mother and the joy of being 16 and in love for the first time. In the midst of coping with life in the present, she has a chance meeting with her first love, Atlas Corrigan, played by Brandon Sklanner. Atlas is no longer an awkward 16-year-old boy. He is now a chef and owner of a highly successful restaurant. And yes, Atlas is still in love with Lily. Will Ryle and Lily's marriage last? Is she capable of breaking the generational cycle of abuse? Will she have her happily ever after? I encourage you to find the answers for yourself. It Ends With Us takes place in Boston, according to the storyline. However, the way the movie is shot leaves a true Bostonian to question the validity of this claim. The acting and writing, on the other hand, were impressive. With that, here is my review. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. It Ends With Us loses a star due to lackluster cinematography. Some scenes are a little out of focus. However, it was well worth the price of admission. For ACMi TV, I'm Joanne Clinton. See you soon for another 5-star review.
And that will do it for this week, folks. We're glad you could be here. I'm James Milan.
And I'm Alice Estrada. If you'd like to get involved, please pay us a visit at 85 Park Ave. And we film these newscasts on Thursday afternoons between 3 and 5 p.m.
And if you have any news tips for us, stay tuned. In just a few seconds, you'll find out how to contact us. Meantime, we will see you right here next week.
Have a great week, everyone.
You can always check out our latest segments and newscasts on the web at acmi.tv/news. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ACMi News. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. You'll find us at youtube.com/ACMi News. If you have any news tips for us or wish to become a citizen journalist, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at news@acmi.tv or stop by ACMI Studio A at 85 Park Avenue.
ACMI productions are only made possible with your support. Visit patreon.com/ACMI to learn how you can help.